A lone man offered water to a thirsty native girl. The next day, her entire tribe marched to his farm. The sun had barely risen over the red plains of Urindor IV, painting the horizon in shades of orange and gold. Jonah's Cade wiped the sweat from his forehead and squinted at his small farm. The land was harsh, cracked in many places from the relentless heat, but Jonah's had learned to make do. Every day was a battle here, against the sun, against the lack of water, against the wild creatures that roamed the plains. Yet in his heart he loved this challenge. The farm, small and simple, was a symbol of humanity's determination to thrive, even on alien worlds. Jonas moved carefully among his plants, watering the roots from the last clean water he had collected. The purification system he had built from old parts scavenged from crashed ships was failing. He had only enough water for today, maybe tomorrow if he rationed it carefully. He had learned to be careful. Every drop counted. As he knelt by the furrows, he noticed a small movement at the edge of the dry riverbed that ran near his farm. His sharp human eyes caught a figure struggling among the cracked mud and sparse rocks. A child, or so he thought, was crawling weakly, dragging herself along the dust. Jonas froze. The child looked strange, not human but not completely alien either. Her skin was pale green with faint patterns, almost like sunlight reflected on leaves. Her hair was dark and matted, and her eyes, wide and fearful, seemed too large for her small face. Jonah's heart skipped a beat. He didn't know the customs of the natives on Urindor IV. Stories warned that some were dangerous, but a child in need. Jonas didn't hesitate. He grabbed his water canister and ran toward her. "Hey, are you okay?" he called, his voice calm but firm. The girl froze at the sound of his voice, her large eyes staring at him in fear. She didn't speak, only trembling as she reached toward the empty sky, her hands shaking. Jonah slowed and knelt a few feet away, holding the water canister out. "I won't hurt you. Here, drink this." The girl hesitated, her instinct to distrust the stranger fighting against the thirst that made her weak. Jonah stayed still, silent, giving her the space to decide. Her gaze flickered to the water, then back at him, searching his face. Something in his calmness, his patience, made her step forward. She drank slowly, the water shimmering in her mouth as if tasting sunlight itself. Jonas smiled gently. "That's it. Take your time." After she had drunk, she sat back on her heels, too exhausted to speak. Jonas noticed her gaze wandering over his farm, the strange tools, and the green plants that somehow survived in the barren soil. He realized she had never seen anything like it. "Do you have family?" he asked, careful with his words. She shook her head slightly. Jonas nodded. He didn't press further. Sometimes survival didn't need words. Jonas offered her some dried food he had stored for emergencies. The girl's eyes brightened, and she took the food, eating slowly. Jonas watched her, fascinated by her movements. Humans were not the only intelligent species in the universe, but there was something about this girl, her caution, her curiosity, her adaptability, that reminded him of the best parts of humanity. For hours, Jonas and the girl sat in quiet companionship. The sun climbed higher, scorching the earth, but the two shared a small moment of peace. Jonas couldn't help but wonder about the stories of her people, the customs and traditions that shaped them. He had read reports from other human settlers, but none described children like her, fragile yet strong in ways humans could barely imagine. As the sun reached its peak, Jonas noticed that she was getting weaker again. "You need to rest," he said gently. "You can stay here for a while if you want. I have shade and water." The girl looked at him, confusion and fear mixed with hope in her eyes. Finally, she nodded and allowed him to guide her to a small tent he had built near the edge of the farm. It wasn't much, just some old sheets and scraps of metal, but it provided shade and shelter. She curled up on a small mat Jonas laid out for her, and her eyes closed slowly, exhaustion winning over curiosity. Jonas sat outside the tent, watching her. He had come to Urindor IV to escape human politics, to start over, to build something that mattered. But as he watched her chest rise and fall with steady breaths, he realized that survival wasn't just about crops or water. Sometimes it was about compassion, about reaching out when no one else would. He looked out at the plains. The winds were shifting, carrying whispers of storms yet to come. The farm was vulnerable, the water supply fragile, and the wild creatures roamed freely. But Jonas felt a quiet certainty. He would protect her. Somehow, he would keep this child safe. Night fell over the red plains, the stars of Urindor IV glittering like scattered diamonds in the sky. The girl slept soundly, unaware of the dangers lurking in the darkness. Jonas sat by the tent, tending a small fire, thinking of what tomorrow might bring. He wondered if her people would come searching for her. He didn't know the customs of the natives fully, but he hoped his act of kindness would be understood. And deep in his heart, he knew something human that aliens rarely understood. Even in a world so alien, even in the face of danger and uncertainty, a single act of compassion could change the course of many lives. Jonas finally lay down in his own small shelter, eyes closing with the strange mixture of exhaustion and satisfaction. He had saved a life today, and tomorrow, he hoped to do it again if needed. He didn't yet know that the girl would not forget. That simple act of offering water, a gesture so small in human terms, would ripple across the plains of Urindor IV in ways he could never imagine. As the night deepened, the winds whispered through the plains, carrying the faintest echo of gratitude. Jonas, unaware of the impact he had made, slept peacefully. Somewhere the girl dreamed of water, shade, and a kind human face, a memory that would soon change the fate of an entire tribe. The morning sun rose slowly over Jonas Cade's small farm, painting the red plains of Urindor IV in pale gold. Birds, if they could be called that on this alien world, chirped in distant rocks, and a soft wind stirred the dry grass. Jonas woke to a strange feeling in the air, a tension he couldn't immediately place. He stepped outside his shelter, stretching and scanning the horizon. The plains seemed calm, almost empty, but then he saw it, movement in the distance, hundreds of small figures moving steadily toward him. At first he thought it was a mirage, a trick of the heat on the red soil. But as they got closer, he could see the shapes clearly, humanoids small and strange like the girl he had helped the day before. His heart skipped a beat. Could it be her people? He ran to the edge of his farm, waving his hands. "Wait! Don't come too close," he shouted, unsure if they would understand. The figures hesitated, but one of them, taller than the rest, stepped forward. Jonas realized it was Lyra, the girl he had helped. She ran ahead of the group, her eyes bright and focused, and gestured for the others to stop. The tribe halted a few dozen feet away, forming a cautious line. Jonas noticed their curious expressions, their wide eyes studying the farm, the crops, and the strange human. Jonas swallowed nervously. He had no experience dealing with an entire alien tribe. "Hello, I'm Jonas," he said, keeping his voice calm. "I mean no harm. You are welcome here." The tribe looked at him, confused by the words, but Lyra seemed to understand. She pointed at him, then to herself, and made a gesture that looked like giving something. Jonas guessed she was telling the tribe about the water he had given her. The moment felt fragile. One wrong move could scare them, make them flee, or worse. Jonas slowly lowered his water canister, a silent sign of peace. He walked a few steps closer to the nearest figure, keeping his hands visible. After a tense silence, one of the older natives, a tall figure with skin like polished stone, stepped forward. He didn't speak, but he watched Jonas carefully. Then slowly he knelt and touched the ground, a gesture Jonas interpreted as respect or acknowledgement. Jonas mirrored the action as best he could, kneeling slightly and bowing his head. Lyra smiled, a small, relieved gesture. The tribe began to relax, moving forward slowly. Jonas guided them toward the main part of his farm, showing them water containers and shade areas. They were cautious, sniffing the air and examining the soil, but Jonas could see curiosity mixed with trust growing in their eyes. He realized quickly that communication would be slow and difficult. He could not speak their language and they could barely understand him. He relied on gestures, pointing to water, food, and the small tools he had built. Lyra helped him, mimicking his gestures and using her own. Soon, the tribe understood the basics. They could drink, they could rest, and they could help if they wanted. As the day progressed, Jonas learned something remarkable. The tribe knew the land better than any human could. They pointed out hidden water pockets, showed him how to reinforce his crops against the harsh wind, and even warned him of poisonous plants he had been unaware of. He realized that while humans had technology, they could learn from this alien knowledge. Together, they could survive better than either alone. Jonas felt a warm pride rising in his chest. Humans had always been explorers, innovators, and problem solvers. Here, on a distant planet, his ability to act with kindness had gained him allies he could never have imagined. This was humanity at its best, not just surviving, but thriving through empathy, intelligence, and cooperation. By late afternoon, Jonas noticed the tribe beginning to set up small areas around the farm. They didn't have tents like humans, but their natural instincts allowed them to build temporary shelters using rocks, branches, and dried grasses. Jonas watched in awe as they worked efficiently, quietly communicating with gestures and subtle sounds. Lyra moved among them, acting as a translator of sorts, occasionally glancing at Jonas as if checking if he approved. Jonas decided to show them more of his farm. He pointed to the irrigation system, moving his hands to show water flowing through pipes. The tribe leaned closer, fascinated by the human invention. One of the younger members, a curious boy with bright green eyes, touched the metal pipe cautiously. Jonas smiled, offering a hand. "It's safe," he said. Slowly, the boy understood and even tried turning a small valve. Water trickled out and his face lit up with wonder. As the sun began to set, Jonas built a small fire, the first in weeks. He offered roasted vegetables and dried fruit to the tribe, who watched cautiously at first but soon began to eat with enjoyment. The sight of them sharing food, sitting near the fire, and exchanging small gestures of gratitude made Jonas realize how fragile and precious trust could be, and how powerful. But even as peace settled over the farm, Jonas could feel unease beneath the calm. The Urandorian tribe was unfamiliar with humans. They might trust him now, but what if other humans from nearby settlements saw this? Or what if rival tribes took offense? He knew that trust was not permanent. It had to be nurtured every day. Night came swiftly over the plains, the twin moons of Urandor IV casting silver light over the farm. Jonas sat by the fire, watching the tribe. Lyra was close to him, her small hand brushing against his arm as she pointed toward a patch of land. He nodded, understanding her meaning. They wanted to help plant more crops. The bond between human and alien was growing, fragile but real. Jonas realized that this was more than just survival. It was an opportunity. Humanity had always thrived by connecting with the unknown, by reaching out and offering kindness even when it seemed risky. Today, that principle had worked again. The tribe had come to him not because of power or threats, but because of a simple act, offering water to a thirsty child. As he drifted to sleep that night, Jonas could hear the quiet sounds of the tribe settling in their shelters. The wind whispered through the plains, carrying the faint scent of damp soil and life. Jonas knew challenges would come, storms, predators, scarcity, but for the first time in weeks he felt a sense of hope. He understood something deeply human, something that aliens might never fully grasp. Small actions, guided by compassion and intelligence, could ripple across worlds, changing the fates of many. Jonas closed his eyes with a quiet smile. Tomorrow would be difficult, no doubt. He would need to teach, protect, and lead. But for now he allowed himself to savor the rare peace, the simple joy of shared water, shared food, and shared trust. Lyra curled up beside him, resting her head on a small mat. The rest of the tribe slept nearby, their bodies relaxed, their minds at ease for the first time in a long while. And Jonas, alone but not lonely, realized something extraordinary. Humanity could make a difference, even on the most alien of worlds. The farm, the plains, and the strange tribe of Urindorians, all were connected now, and it had all begun with a single, simple act of kindness. The sun rose slowly over the plains of Urindor IV, casting long shadows over Jonah's Cade's small farm. The red soil seemed to glow in the early light, and the twin moons of the planet still lingered faintly in the sky. Jonas walked among his crops, checking the water levels and the fragile plants he had nurtured with such care. The tribe of Urindorians, led by Lyra, moved silently around him, tending their own small tasks. The air was calm, but Jonas could feel a quiet tension in the wind, a warning that the peace might not last. As he worked, Jonas noticed strange tracks in the dry soil near the edges of his farm. Large, heavy footprints, unlike anything he had seen before. His heart tightened. He had heard rumors of raiders on Urindor IV, groups of alien scavengers who attacked farms and small settlements, taking whatever they wanted. Jonas had hoped he would never encounter them. Now, it seemed that hope was gone. He called Lyra to him, pointing at the tracks and gesturing in concern. She nodded, her expression serious, and ran to warn the others. Soon, the tribe gathered around Jonas. He could see the understanding in their eyes. They knew danger when they saw it. Though they did not speak his language fully, their body language and gestures conveyed a warning. Something was coming. Jonas thought quickly. He had limited resources and few defenses, but humans had a talent for using intelligence, creativity, and courage to overcome threats. He looked at the tribe and said, "We need to prepare. Work with me and we can protect everyone." Lyra stepped forward, making gestures that encouraged her people to listen and follow Jonah's instructions. He divided the tasks. Some of the tribe would reinforce the farm's outer walls with rocks and branches, creating barriers that could slow down attackers. Others would dig shallow trenches around the crops to redirect water in case the raiders tried to destroy the irrigation system. Jonas himself worked on strengthening his mechanical defenses. He rigged simple alarms from broken sensors and old metal parts. When the raiders stepped on hidden triggers, metal rods would clang and alert the defenders. Hours passed quickly. The sun climbed higher, making the heat nearly unbearable. Jonas wiped sweat from his brow and kept moving, giving instructions, adjusting plans, and encouraging the tribe. Their cooperation amazed him. Though their ways were different, their intelligence and instincts complemented his human ingenuity. Together, they could create something neither could do alone. By mid-afternoon, Jonas noticed movement on the horizon. A cloud of dust rose in the distance, too organized to be animals. He squinted, focusing, and could just make out figures moving quickly, carrying crude weapons. The raiders were coming. Jonah's heart pounded, but he remained calm. Panic would help no one. He signaled to Lyra, who quickly instructed the tribe to take positions near the farm's defenses. Jonas activated his makeshift traps, checking each one carefully. He had built simple mechanical devices, metal spikes that would fall, tripwires that would alert them, and water pumps that could spray attackers, creating confusion. The tribe, though unfamiliar with human machines, followed his gestures and stood ready. As the raiders approached, Jonas took a deep breath. He knew that humans had one advantage even in unfamiliar territory: adaptability. He moved among the tribe, giving last-minute instructions and gestures of encouragement. "Be ready, but stay calm," he said quietly. "We can do this." The raiders reached the outer edges of the farm. The first ones stepped on the hidden traps, causing metal rods to clang and small nets to fall. They shouted in anger and confusion, and Jonas saw the moment of hesitation he had hoped for. Using this, he signaled to the tribe. They attacked, not with weapons but with coordination and strategy. The Urandorians used their knowledge of the land to move silently, appearing where the raiders least expected. They tripped traps, blocked paths, and guided water from Jonah's irrigation system to slow the attackers. Jonas watched in awe. He had trained in survival, combat, and strategy, but even he had never imagined using water as a defense. The raiders regrouped, shouting orders and trying to push forward. Jonas ran along the farm, adjusting traps and improvising new ones. He dropped rocks in narrow paths, released small automated alarms, and used reflective metal plates to blind the attackers with sunlight. Every action was calculated, every move precise. The raiders began to realize that this was no ordinary human settlement. Lyra led part of the tribe to flank the attackers. They moved swiftly, their bodies low to the ground, using speed and agility to confuse the raiders. Jonas admired their courage. Humans had the ability to inspire loyalty and cooperation, and it was clear that his actions the day before had earned their trust. The tribe fought not because Jonas demanded it, but because they believed in him. Hours passed in a tense battle. The sun was now high, the heat oppressive, but Jonas remained focused. He combined his human ingenuity with the tribe's natural skills, creating strategies that neither could have achieved alone. The raiders began to retreat, confused and frustrated by the coordinated defenses and unexpected resistance. Jonas saw an opening and signaled for a final push. Using a combination of water, traps, and the tribe's flanking maneuvers, they forced the raiders back across the plains. By late afternoon, the dust settled. The raiders had fled, leaving behind their crude weapons and some broken equipment. Jonas and the tribe stood together, exhausted but victorious. He looked around at the faces of the Urandorians. Lyra smiled, her eyes shining with admiration and gratitude. Jonas felt a deep sense of pride, not just in surviving, but in proving that humans working with allies could turn impossible situations into victories. As the sun set, Jonas began tending to the farm again, checking for damage. The tribe helped, repairing walls, clearing debris, and reinforcing defenses. Jonas noticed something extraordinary. They were not just helping because they had to, they were learning, adapting, and cooperating in ways that mirrored human ingenuity. Humanity had a special ability to inspire trust and encourage intelligence in others, even across species. That night, the farm was quiet. The tribe gathered near the fire Jonas had built, sharing small stories through gestures and sounds. Jonas watched them, feeling a profound connection. He realized that this farm, these plains, and this tribe were now part of something larger, a story of cooperation, courage, and human ingenuity. Jonas knew challenges would continue. The raiders might return, storms could damage crops, and resources were still limited. But he also knew something important. Humans had a unique ability to survive, adapt, and inspire others. One person, acting with intelligence and compassion, could change the course of many lives. As he drifted to sleep, Jonas felt a quiet satisfaction. Today, they had faced a real threat and survived, not through sheer strength alone, but through strategy, courage, and cooperation. The tribe trusted him. The land, harsh and unforgiving, could be tamed with knowledge and persistence. And for the first time in weeks, Jonas allowed himself to hope, not just for survival, but for a future where humans and Urandorians could thrive together. Outside, the wind carried whispers of the plains, a reminder that life was never easy on Urandor IV. But Jonas knew one thing. Humanity had a way of turning even the harshest worlds into places of opportunity and growth. And together, with allies by his side, he would ensure that this farm, this tribe, and this small corner of the universe would not just survive, they would endure. The first light of dawn spread over the plains of Urindor IV, casting long, red shadows across Jonah's Cade's small farm. The air was thick with tension. After the previous day's attack, Jonas had prepared for the worst. He could feel it in his bones. The raiders would return, and this time they would come stronger, angrier, and ready to destroy everything he had built. Jonas moved quickly along the perimeter of the farm, checking the barriers the tribe had helped reinforce. Large rocks, thorny branches, and shallow trenches now formed a maze of obstacles designed to slow and confuse attackers. His traps, simple machines made from scavenged metal, pulleys, and wires, were hidden in strategic locations. Each one had been carefully tested, each one designed to buy precious seconds in a fight. The Urindorian tribe gathered near him. Lyra's small figure moved with purpose, directing her people to positions behind barricades and near the fire lines. Though they didn't fully understand human language, the tribe responded to gestures, pointing, and simple signals. Jonas felt a quiet pride. Humans had always been leaders, not just because of strength, but because of intelligence, courage, and the ability to inspire loyalty. Today, that quality would be tested. Hours passed in tense anticipation. The wind shifted, carrying the faint smell of smoke and metal from a distance. Jonah's sharp eyes caught movement on the horizon. Dust clouds rose like dark shadows, and he could see dozens of raiders approaching. They were larger in number than before, carrying spears, crude firearms, and whatever armor they had scavenged. Jonas knew this battle would not be won by chance. Strategy, speed, and human ingenuity would be their weapons. "Stay calm," Jonas said firmly, moving among the tribe. He pointed to specific spots behind rocks and trenches, signaling where each Urindorian should wait. Lyra repeated his gestures to ensure everyone understood. Jonas took a deep breath and scanned the approaching raiders. He noticed that they had not learned from their previous defeat. They expected an easy target, just a human and a small tribe. That would be their mistake. The first wave of raiders entered the outer trenches. Jonas waited until they were close enough, then triggered a hidden mechanism. Rocks fell with a loud crash, startling the raiders and breaking their formation. The humans and Urindorians moved as one. Using speed and coordination, the tribe tripped and blocked attackers while Jonas released small jets of water from his irrigation system, knocking several off balance. The sight of a human controlling both machines and people with precision seemed to confuse the raiders further. Lyra led a group to flank the attackers. Her movements were swift, almost invisible among the rocks and dirt. The Urindorian tribe, guided by Jonah's strategies, used the terrain to their advantage. They created ambush points, blocked narrow paths, and forced the raiders into traps designed to slow them down. Jonas ran along the barricades, adjusting traps on the fly, adding new obstacles from fallen branches and spare metal sheets. His mind raced, calculating each possibility, anticipating each move of the enemy. The raiders were caught in a web of obstacles, water sprays, and sudden ambushes. Confused and frustrated, they tried to regroup. Jonas saw an opening. He signaled to the tribe, and they surged forward together. Using the combination of human strategy and the natives' natural agility, they forced the raiders to retreat further into the maze of the farm. One raider managed to break through a barricade and rushed toward the central crops. Jonas reacted instantly. He activated a mechanism that dumped a small stream of water from a raised tank, knocking the raider off balance and sending him sprawling into the dirt. The sight made the others hesitate. Jonas could see fear spreading among them. Humans were unpredictable, and that unpredictability, combined with strategy and ingenuity, made them dangerous. Hours passed in a tense battle of wits, speed, and endurance. The sun climbed high, turning the plains into an oven. Sweat poured down Jonah's face, but he kept moving, keeping a watchful eye on every corner of the farm. The Urindorian tribe fought with courage and intelligence, inspired by Jonah's leadership. Every move they made was precise, every action coordinated. Finally, the raiders began to retreat. They were disorganized, injured, and demoralized. Jonah saw the moment to strike again. Using the last of his mechanical traps and the flanking maneuvers of the tribe, they forced the raiders to flee across the plains, leaving behind weapons, supplies, and their pride. Jonas watched them disappear into the distance, a triumphant feeling rising in his chest. When the dust settled, Jonas walked among the tribe. Lyra ran to him, her eyes shining with admiration. "We did it," Jonas said, smiling. She nodded, pointing to the farm and then to him, a gesture of respect and gratitude. Jonas realized something profound. This victory was not just about humans or aliens. It was about cooperation, trust, and the power of combining intelligence with courage. As the sun began to set, Jonas and the tribe worked together to repair the damage. Walls were reinforced, trenches cleared, and crops examined for harm. Even in exhaustion, the tribe moved with purpose. Jonas knew that this bond, built on respect and shared effort, was stronger than any weapon. Humans had always thrived not just because of strength, but because of empathy, intelligence, and the ability to inspire loyalty across differences. Night fell, and the farm glowed under the twin moons of Urindor IV. Jonas lit a small fire and the tribe gathered near it. They shared food, exchanged gestures, and communicated in ways that went beyond words. Jonas realized that this moment, small and quiet, was a victory in itself. Not just against raiders, but against the harshness of life on this alien world. Humans had the ability to survive, adapt, and lead, not through brute force, but through intelligence, courage, and compassion. Jonas sat near the fire, watching the stars appear. The tribe slept nearby, their trust in him clear and unwavering. He felt a deep sense of pride. Today, he had led them not with weapons alone, but with strategy, ingenuity, and the courage to act decisively. Humanity had always been remarkable for these qualities, and here, on Urindor IV, they had made the impossible possible. The farm, now quiet, seemed alive in a new way. Every plant, every wall, every small machine was part of a network of survival. Jonah's new challenges would come again, storms, scarcity, and other threats, but he also knew something extraordinary. Humans, acting with intelligence, morality, and courage, could inspire others to greatness. As he drifted to sleep near the fire, Jonas allowed himself a rare smile. Today, the farm had survived, the tribe had learned, and humanity had proven its strength, not through domination, but through understanding, ingenuity, and compassion. Tomorrow, the plains would rise again with challenges, but Jonas knew that together, with trust and courage, they could face anything. The sun rose gently over the plains of Urindor IV, spilling soft light over Jonah's Cade's farm. The red soil looked warm and welcoming, and for the first time in weeks, the farm seemed peaceful. Birds, or whatever creatures played their role as watchers of the sky, moved quietly across the horizon. Jonas stood at the edge of the crops, surveying the land. The battle was over, the raiders had fled, and the tribe of Urindorians worked beside him, repairing the farm and reinforcing what had been damaged. Jonas breathed deeply. He had survived countless challenges on this alien world, but this day, this moment, felt different. It was not merely survival, it was growth. The tribe, once strangers, now moved as partners. They understood the farm, its rhythms, and the careful balance Jonas maintained with water, soil, and crops. They learned quickly. Their natural instincts combined with human strategy to create something stronger than either could do alone. Lyra, the young girl who had started it all, ran to him with a smile that lit up her green-tinged face. She held a small bundle of herbs she had picked from a nearby patch. Jonas took them, nodding in appreciation. She gestured for him to follow, leading him to a newly built shelter she had helped erect. Jonas knelt beside her, examining the structure. It was simple but strong. He could see the care she had put into it. It was a reflection of the trust and cooperation that now existed between humans and Urandorians. "Look," Lyra said, pointing to a small water channel she had dug near the shelter. Jonas smiled. She had used her knowledge of the land to find hidden moisture beneath the dry soil, and her ingenuity had made it accessible to the farm. This small act of understanding reminded Jonas of why humans thrived in every corner of the universe. They observed, adapted, and learned. But what made humans remarkable, he realized, was their ability to combine knowledge with compassion, inspiring loyalty and cooperation wherever they went. The day was spent repairing, planting, and strengthening defenses. Jonas showed the tribe new techniques for irrigation and crop protection, explaining through gestures and simple language how to use tools and materials. The Urandorians absorbed the lessons eagerly, moving with a blend of curiosity and respect. Jonas could see their trust in him growing, their belief that humans could not only survive but lead and protect. By late afternoon, the sun cast long shadows across the farm. Jonas walked along the perimeter, checking the walls and trenches. They were solid, ready to face future threats. The tribe had done more than repair, they had improved. Every barrier, every trap, every patch of soil reflected their collective effort. Jonas felt a quiet pride in what had been achieved. A single act of kindness, offering water to a thirsty child, had blossomed into a partnership that could survive anything. The twin moons rose in the sky, casting silver light over the farm. Jonas sat by the fire, Lyra beside him. The rest of the tribe gathered around, sharing small gestures of thanks. Some brought fruits, others small crafted items, all gifts of appreciation. Jonas looked at them and realized something profound. Humanity had a gift that no alien technology could replicate: the ability to inspire trust, loyalty, and cooperation through acts of morality, intelligence, and courage. Jonas reflected on the past weeks. Life on Urandor IV had been harsh, unforgiving, and lonely. Yet, through determination, kindness, and strategy, he had turned isolation into community. The tribe had come to him because of one human act, offering water. From that small gesture grew a bond, a shared purpose, and a lasting alliance. Jonas understood that this was not mere luck, this was human strength at its finest. Night fell, and Jonas lay near the fire, listening to the gentle sounds of the plains. The Urandorian tribe slept nearby, their breathing slow and steady. For the first time, Jonas allowed himself to feel hope, not just for survival but for the future. He imagined the farm growing, the crops thriving, and the tribe and humans working side by side. The possibility of a lasting settlement, a thriving community in the heart of the Red Plains, was no longer a dream, it was a plan in motion. Weeks turned into months. The farm flourished under Jonah's guidance and the tribe's help. Crops grew stronger, irrigation systems improved, and defenses became nearly impenetrable. Travelers and settlers from distant parts of Urandor IV came to see the farm, curious about the human who had survived against odds and gained the trust of an entire tribe. Jonas shared knowledge freely, teaching irrigation techniques, crop rotation, and defensive strategies. His farm became a hub of learning, a symbol of what humans could accomplish through ingenuity, courage, and moral action. Lyra grew into a skilled leader among her people, bridging the gap between humans and Urandorians. Her experiences with Jonas taught her the value of cooperation, patience, and ingenuity. She became a symbol of the alliance, guiding her tribe while respecting the wisdom of the human who had saved them. The partnership was not just practical, it was transformative. Humans and Urandorians began to share culture, stories, and knowledge, learning from one another in ways that strengthened both species. Jonas often walked the plains alone at dusk, reflecting on the journey that had begun with a single act of kindness. He remembered the first day he had offered water to Lyra, the small girl struggling in the sun. That simple gesture had set in motion events that reshaped the farm, the tribe, and even the surrounding region. Jonas realized that humanity's greatest strength was not just physical, or technological, or even intellectual. It was moral courage. Humans could act when others hesitated, inspire loyalty where others expected fear, and create opportunity from challenge. One evening, as the twin moons glowed over the plains, a group of human settlers approached the farm. They had heard rumors of Jonah's success, the thriving crops, and the alliance with the tribe. Initially skeptical and wary of the Urandorians, they were soon convinced by the careful organization and clear respect between human and native. Jonas welcomed them, showing them the farm, the irrigation system, and the defensive strategies. The settlers were amazed. They had never seen humans survive so far from established colonies, nor had they witnessed such cooperation between species. Jonas spoke to the new settlers in his calm, confident voice. Survival here is not just about strength. It's about understanding, trust, and intelligence. Humans can lead, but we also learn from those around us. Together, we can thrive in ways that neither humans nor natives could do alone. The settlers nodded, understanding the truth in his words. Jonah's words were simple, yet powerful, a reflection of humanity's ability to inspire through action and morality. The farm grew into a small community, a place where humans and Urandorians worked side by side. Knowledge spread, trade increased, and the surrounding plains began to show signs of new life. Jonah's simple act of offering water to a thirsty child had created a ripple effect, one that transformed not only his life, but the lives of many others. As Jonas watched the tribe and settlers work together, he felt a quiet sense of fulfillment. He had survived, yes, but he had also built something enduring. His life was no longer just about survival. It was about legacy, about the lasting impact of human courage, intelligence, and compassion. Lyra ran to him, holding a small plant she had grown from a seed Jonas had given her. "This is for you," she said, her voice simple but filled with meaning. Jonas took the plant, smiling. It was more than a gift. It was a symbol of trust, growth, and the bond between humans and Urandorians. Jonas looked out over the farm, the plains, and the sky above. The twin moons shone brightly, and the stars twinkled like diamonds scattered across the vast darkness. He realized that humanity's story was not just on Earth, nor in the colonies. It was in every place humans could survive, adapt, and inspire. Urandor IV was harsh, unforgiving, and dangerous, yet here humans had made a home, gained allies, and created a legacy. The fire crackled gently, the tribe slept nearby, and the settlers worked quietly. Jonas felt a deep connection to everything around him, the land, the people, and the future. This was human strength at its finest, the ability to act with intelligence, morality, and courage, and to inspire those around them to greatness. Jonas closed his eyes, allowing the quiet sounds of the plains to wash over him. He knew that challenges would come again, storms, predators, scarcity, but he also knew something extraordinary. Humans could endure, inspire, and lead, even in worlds far from home. And the ripple of one simple act, offering water to a child, had already begun to change the course of history on Urandor IV. As sleep claimed him, Jonas smiled, knowing that the farm, the tribe, and the growing human settlement would carry forward his legacy. Humanity had proven itself once again, not through force, but through courage, intelligence, and compassion. The plains of Urandor IV were no longer just a harsh, empty land. They were a place where humans and natives could thrive together, a testament to what humanity could accomplish in any corner of the universe.